Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with Joh Abrams in Taipei. Hey, this is Joh Abrams. We have another fantastic episode, Fantastic Formosa. Our new guest, Judd. He's doing, what we're doing today is called an exit interview in America. It's when a person leaves a company and, you know, he may be leaving because he's angry, or he may be leaving because he found a better job, or maybe he's tired of working. Who knows? But they always try to do an exit interview, and they try to find out how they can improve the company, or why are you leaving this wonderful company and going over to this terrible company, so they can learn to be a better company. In the military terms, it's called a debriefing. You brief somebody before you go on an operation or exercise. And in this case, when you come back from that operation or military exercise, there's a debriefing, which you go through what you learned on the exercise or mission, and you always do a debriefing after a military operation to improve, basically. So we have a very special guest, Judd. Judd is what we call a man's name, real man. And Judd, how long have you been in Taiwan now?
5 years.
5 years. So you're not an English teacher like so many people who get off the airplane desperate, hiding from the law.
No, nothing like that at all.
Which is a good thing. You're here 5 years. You have a daughter here.
I do.
Two or one daughter?
One daughter and two dogs.
2 dogs and 1 daughter.
Yeah.
That's a very American thing to say, that you have these extra, or 2 cats or 2 dogs or whatever responsibilities. So your daughter is how old?
16 and finishing up her sophomore year at TAS, Taiwan.
Taipei American School.
American School.
Right. So she got here pretty young.
She got here during going into 6th grade.
So, wow. So, I assume that she learned Chinese while she was here.
She spent 3 years learning Mandarin. Yeah.
But she pretends she doesn't know a word of it.
She acts very much that way. We've caught her in a situation where we realize that actually she knows a lot more than she lets on. Yeah.
I don't know why she would keep it so secret.
Well, she just doesn't want us to quiz her on it.
Oh, well, how, yeah. Oh, I get it.
Not that we couldn't tell if she was right or wrong, but...
You had no idea.
Yeah, but her friends speak quite fluently.
So you noticed that
we know that there are moments where they
slip up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at 16, speaking Chinese is a great skill set, we say in America. Skill sets now in America are a very popular word we use, because college degrees are beginning to mean nothing in America, because people are getting college degrees in like sociology or crazy college degrees that you cannot get a job with it. You have no skill set, no discipline. A discipline is a skill set. A language is a great skill set. And in the military, we call it a force multiplier. A force multiplier is when you add a skill set or the opportunity or the ability to put something like a new weapon system on a vessel or a ship or a plane. Now it's it was a cargo aircraft, but now we put missiles on it. That's a force multiplier. So in America, people are beginning to think in terms of skill sets, and they want to get certificates. They want to get licenses. And do they want to spend, 4 years in a college with a student debt of what?
Maybe $50,000 to
$80,000.
$100,000.
That's a new car. That's a new house.
Yeah.
Or a Mercedes.
Right.
So America is changing its thinking about education, and I know that Taiwanese here still think in terms of the education in university settings. So, so she's going to go home, and she's going to miss all her friends.
She is. I'm certain of that. I am certain of that.
Do you know what her plan is?
You mean as far as school is concerned?
Well, she's leaving this summer, or how soon?
This summer we're heading back and
Heading home.
Yeah, so she starts again in the fall in a local school in Portland, Oregon.
Wow, Portland's a very famous city in America for its culture, and it's people love to live there. Does it rain a lot in Portland?
It rains kind of almost constantly from November to March.
Okay, sounds like Thailand.
Like and then it's cold. It's much colder than it is here.
Of course.
So what would the temperature range be? Probably around 5, from 5 degrees up to about 15 in that range.
And you're in the mountains. Is Portland in the mountains?
There are mountains around Portland.
Okay.
But not in Portland. There's some hills, and
right.
we would call them hills here for sure.
Well, Portland has a very artsy, we call it artsy scene, which means a lot of artists, musicians.
Cuisine.
The
culinary arts there are pretty important. Yeah.
Now, I can't remember, what's the factory manufacturing industry like there?
Manufacturing. Well, so it's a world headquarters for Nike. It's
a
world headquarters for, Intel is a big company there.
So you don't have to starve.
No. What's the other one that's escaping my brain at the second? But there's another clothing manufacturing.
Clothing, okay. Yeah. I was thinking of Boeing, but they're in Seattle.
They're in Seattle.
Right. Yeah. Not far.
Not far, but far enough.
How far is Portland from the ocean?
From the ocean, it's an hour away.
Oh, wow. So
we got mountains an hour away, and we got the ocean an hour away.
That's great. That's like Taiwan. You know, you can go up the mountains in 20 minutes, and you can go to Damshui, or you can go to the West Coast, or not the West Coast, I should say, East Coast, surf.
Yeah.
But I would think the waters in the northern areas, like
it's
Portland,
it's not like here where it's
not
warm.
friendly.
It's quite chilly. Even in the summer.
And in the summer it's cold.
Yeah.
Don't they have a great white shark problem in that area that time of year in the winter?
I mean, no different than any other Pacific Ocean.
I thought they went north in the winter.
They circulate. But up north, I mean, like Seattle and that area, they'll get the orcas.
Oh, my God.
And that's more, I think.
Are they dangerous? Or?
Yeah, they can be quite, because they work together in pods.
Okay. Oh, my God. Well, there's always this, there was a movie made many moons ago. When I say many moons ago, I mean many years ago in America. We say the word moons, many moons ago, about a well like that, right? What was the name of that silly thing?
Yeah, what was that?
I'm sure many of you know exactly what we're talking about, but
I never saw
Willie
it. Willie, yes, that's it.
Right,
Willie.
Right. And then they
Free Willy.
Free Willy.
That's it.
He ended up in a Mexican aquarium or something.
Right.
It was a quite terrible story after the movie.
But orcas hunt sharks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so they're
they're big.
They're big and
aggressive.
Fierce.
Right. All right. Well, we wonder about these things because we don't have a lot of big fish in this area. You have tuna sometimes, but you don't have anything much bigger than small sharks. I don't see a lot. This business with your daughter going back home, do you go back home every year for like an annual visit?
Typically, yes. Every summer.
Right.
We'll go do.
All right. So how long do you go home for summer?
6 weeks.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
All right. So she's not going to have what we call culture shock.
No. Well, she might when she goes to school.
Right.
That could be a game changer for her, an eye opener for her.
What the kids are wearing.
Yeah, it'll be a different environment.
She'll be smarter than them, no question about it.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, at least an American public school can be quite relaxed. And in fact, colleges today are quite relaxed.
Yeah.
Some colleges don't even require what we call the Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT now, and that has brought arguments that there's no point in this endeavor to become smarter. It's just a playground on college campuses. So is she excited about going back?
She is, I think, with some trepidation.
Sure, trepidation means nervousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, then she has some friends back home.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she grew up there in the same city that we're going back home to.
Right.
They won't necessarily be going to the same school that she will, but she has, in this day and age of, social media and texting, she's kept in touch with them since she left.
Right.
And so she knows who's who and where they are and how to get. And then she's also going to be of the age where she can start driving.
Oh, my God.
Because in the United States, it's 16.
Oh, my God.
Not 18 as it is here. She's very excited by that. I'm very nervous by this.
The insurance alone.
Your listeners don't know that I have a white beard, but it's bound to get even whiter.
We're the same age, me and Judd. We're born about 61, 62. So this will be a fun interview for you folks back home because you'll get to hear us reminisce about stuff you don't understand, old music and movies and things like that. I fear, my children are Taiwanese and American citizens, but they don't have a lot of American experience. So when they go back for every 3 years maybe or every couple years, they ask very strange questions, often to strangers, which is not normal in America. You don't go up to a stranger and ask these odd questions. And, we had some very nervous moments. We used to go back for Halloween and Christmas. We'd stay those 3 months.
Oh, okay.
So that they would be educated. They went to a local school and they would be educated in an American environment, hopefully to reduce the idea that they would be what we call a stranger in a strange land is a phrase we use.
Robert Heinlein.
Yes. Which is something I feel like sometimes a stranger.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Stranger in a strange land.
You've been here a lot longer than
Oh, my gosh, yes. Culture shock when I go home is when I get change for $1 and the money doesn't feel right. It feels feels like plastic. It feels too light. Yes, very different experience. Chinese food in America is not Chinese. We don't know what it is.
Right. Starch.
It's garbage. They have these, if you ever go to America, they have these buffets. They call them Chinese buffets, and you go in and they're just lined up with, I don't know what it is, but it's nothing you would find here. But they call it Chinese food. So so she goes back. She's going to you're going to buy her a car or?
Not right away.
I see. I see. So in America, we have a different system than Taiwan. You have to be 16 to drive. 18, you're an adult. 21, you can drink. Now, Taiwan is a lot different. 18 to drive, 18 to drink, 18 to what? What else?
What's the voting age here?
I think it's 18.
It's 18 in the United States.
Yeah, yeah. They changed the 18 rule. It used to be 21 in America.
Yeah.
Because Vietnam, the war. Yep. People were complaining they were being sent to Vietnam to die, but they couldn't vote. So she'll be 16, and in America, that is really the age that people change. Kids can become more distant from their parents. Even at a younger age, when I was at probably 13 or 14, my parents would drive me to school, and I would say, stop here, 1 or 2 blocks from school.
Oh.
So I wanted to walk to school like I was an independent, responsible person who didn't need his parents.
And you didn't want mom giving you a kiss in front of all the
No,
kids.
I definitely didn't. Yes,
Yeah.
oh my God. And the type of car we drove. That was another very important issue. And I didn't want to go out and have pizza at Pizza Hut with my family because my friends might see me. So this is strange to many Taiwanese because they're very family-oriented. But American mindsets are very different. Independence, I guess.
Yeah.
So do you have that problem yet with your daughter?
We're coming out of that, actually.
Really? It's going the opposite direction.
Yeah, when she got here with her friends that she made here, she spent a lot less time with us.
Huh.
And now she's kind of coming around to like hanging out with mom and dad.
All right.
There's still the rebellious 16-year-old, but nothing like what you're describing, which that all happened several years ago.
Normally, you give the car keys to your children at 16, and then you never see them again.
Well, we haven't given her the car keys yet.
Yeah, 16 is a turning point in America. It's sort of when you become an adult, even though you're not an adult.
Right.
So you have some interesting years ahead of you. And I assume that she'll be going to college. I don't know what
she has every intention of.
All right. So does she have a field of study that she's interested in? What we call a major.
Well, I can't say that she does yet. She's very interested in like fashion, and she's got a very keen eye for fashion and that culture. And then her language skills are good, so I don't know.
That sounds Taiwanese.
It's totally been influenced by Taiwanese.
Right, Asians have women, they're really into this.
Yes, and she is part of that clique.
She might be disappointed by the Americans' fashion scene.
Well, she already is. Yeah, I mean.
That doesn't match.
Yeah,
what is that?
Yes, she has.
Yeah, and there's no elegance. What we
That's
call
correct.
grace in American high schools. You show up and you're wearing blue jeans with holes in them, and at least I did when I was a kid.
I did too. Yeah.
I wonder what they're dressing up as now.
It's different.
All right.
I see it. You know, a lot of the short shorts are back in fashion.
Really, high school?
Oh, absolutely.
Short shorts are these, short pants, shorts, too short.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable short.
Yeah.
Fathers get upset.
Yeah.
When me and Judd were in our kids during the 1960s, they had something called the mini skirt, where I don't know where the skirt started and where the underwear started.
We're back there.
Yeah. Oh my God. So what we call, what is it called when everyone does the same thing? Everyone gets hooked into a same
fad.
A fad, yeah. Fads are very important to teenagers. If you don't follow the fad, you're sort of considered an outsider. You get rejected by your fellow. And we had some very strange fads, didn't we, Joe?
Streaking was one of the biggest fads that came out when I was
1975, 76, what?
I think somewhere in that range,
74?
maybe 74.
People would take their clothes off at public events and run across a football field. And that was called streaking.
Yeah.
And it didn't last very long.
No, it didn't.
But there was a song about it. It was pretty funny.
They call him the streak.
Yeah, they call him the streaker. And the idea was to run so fast that nobody could figure out who you were.
Right.
Yeah. There was usually a group of people on the other side to get you in a row very quickly.
Right.
They had a TV show called Johnny Carson.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I just saw that actually just several weeks ago.
The streaking scene.
Yes.
Yeah, when someone ran across. And Johnny Carson was a very common connector for everybody in America because it was the only show we could really watch. We didn't have cable or anything. We had to watch every night the same programs.
Three channels.
Yeah, I had 3 channels. I'm sure you might have had 4. I don't know.
Maybe with PBS, or you had 4. Yeah.
So, you're leaving, so I want to do an exit interview with you. You arrived here 5 years ago.
Yes.
Did you want to come here?
Yes, I did. But I will tell you, my wife has the job here.
She has a job here.
I'm the trailing spouse, as they say.
Oh, I see.
And I retired from my job back in the United States. But when she first talked about coming over here, I really didn't know anything about it.
You didn't know where the island was?
I knew more about Hong Kong by far than I did here.
Right.
And I thought, we're going to where? And she's like, I think you'll like it. And I've been very, very pleasantly surprised at how much I love it. And I'm so happy I still have not been to Hong Kong.
Well, it's changed since I first got 1990 when I lived there. Yeah.
Changed since the day that we flew over here.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we really can't talk about that online.
Right,
but but Taiwan has certainly changed over the past 25, 30 years, and I don't know if it's changed for you much in the past 5.
I wouldn't say it's been that. Not gone through a lot of changes that I can recognize.
Right.
So much.
Everyone here is so friendly. It just staggers the imagination.
It's absolutely true.
I have no idea. When I first got here, I was in culture shock. People are so friendly. I thought, this person wants something. I agree. I don't give them any money.
Why are you asking me that question? That seems a little, you're probing a little too much.
What do you want from me? And I discovered if you wanted to meet pretty girls, you got out a map. We didn't have cell phones back then. You took out a map and pretended you were lost. And a pretty girl would come along and she'd say, I can help you. I speak English. So you'd have coffee and you got to meet people. It was very friendly and still is extremely friendly. Despite my 30 years here, I still have people saying, welcome to Taiwan. But that's wonderful. I don't think there's a friendlier country in Asia than Taiwan. Maybe the planet.
That could be very much true. I've found that to be absolutely correct.
You've traveled.
I've traveled,
Where?
In
Europe,
Asia,
America?
Both. Europe, now Asia. The big reason I wanted to come here was the ability to travel throughout Asia.
Good location.
Oh,
jumping off
amazing.
point.
Unfortunately, 6 months after we got here, COVID hit.
Oh.
So we were into like our 3rd trip. We were in Thailand.
Okay.
And it was that New Year's. It was Lunar New Year of that year. And when we were getting back on our plane is when we came to realize things are going south here pretty quickly.
Okay. The expression going south in America means what?
It means things are going bad.
Right,
it's like
it's going down.
Going downhill. Going downhill. And then we were locked down for the next 2 years pretty much, right? And
well, I was always kind of annoyed by it because I had grown up on a farm and there was just nothing that could kill me.
Right. Yeah, right.
And I often wore my mask just below my nose, and people would stop me, and they were really nice about it. Sir, you've forgotten. But when I was American, I did it. I got some very angry.
Yeah.
They were in my face. In my face means they would actually come up to me and yell at me.
Yeah.
I go, buddy, I'm the last person you should yell at. But I always went ahead along with it, Flying back to Taiwan during COVID was a nightmare.
Yes, it was. There was one trip that we took where we had the opportunity to fly out, and we knew we were going to come back to quarantine, but we thought it was within our own apartment.
Oh no!
And like days,
they changed it.
Days before they changed it, and we had to book a hotel, a quarantine hotel.
Right.
And they separated us. So my daughter and my wife stayed in one room. I stayed in another room.
That might have been a good thing.
For 2 weeks. Yeah, for 2 weeks that would have been. Yeah. So,
heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me, but it wasn't certainly a comfortable experience.
Yeah, the food they delivered, they were like, I don't know
delivered.
what this is. I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah, but they kept coming with it, and I would stack up because I could only eat so much of it.
Yes, I'm not burning energy. So
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank God we had Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
And I had bought some board games that I used when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to learn Daddy's old board games.
Oh, you got to stay with the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved me and my family apart.
Right. Yeah. And I would play games with my boys like, how do we escape? You know, if we climb out the window, how do we rope down? How do we... Of course, that was just playful.
Yeah.
It wasn't serious.
Right.
It was quite serious, actually. But so you got here at a very unusual time, and so you weren't able to explore the island as much until after COVID?
No, in fact, because of COVID, I explored Taiwan deeply.
You went to...
I went all up and down the island.
Right.
So I'm a cyclist.
Bicycle.
Yes, a bicyclist. So it was that fall of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
They had the King of the Mountain in Taroko Gorge event.
Oh, really?
And it's this race, challenge, however you want to refer to it as, that starts down in Hualien. And you climb up through Taroko Gorge all the way up to Wuling. And it's 86 kilometers, and it's 3,000 meters of climbing. And
bicycling
all the way up.
God.
And it is the most beautiful thing I've ever been involved in.
Between heart attacks, yeah.
Yeah. It was because I'd never been there before.
Oh, yeah.
I get on the bike. I'm following the crowd. You know, I'd heard about this.
This is a island. Is it an international event?
It's an international event. At that point, they had just had some international professional cyclists come in and ride it to kind of promote it. And there may have been some there. I'm not sure that day. A friend of mine now, at the time I didn't know him, but a friend of mine now is one of the promoters. His name's Lee Rogers. And he was a professional cyclist. And so he was able to entice these professional cyclists from Europe to come and ride this. And so it got famous because of that. And so I was like, oh, yeah, this sounds great. I should do this. So I went and did it, but I'd never been to Taroko Gorge. I'd never seen it, didn't have any idea.
You had no clue.
And it just was the most incredible place I've ever seen. And the walls of granite and marble and all the schist and all that.
And history.
And history and geology. I mean, my God, it is just unbelievable.
Right.
And so we rode to the top, and it was.
Did you get a prize, or
they give you they give you a lot of swag. You get a little medal, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So anyway, after the event, the next day, you go back down to Hualien. And then most everybody else went home, and I used the opportunity to head south down.
Keep going, Taidong.
Kept going all the way down.
All right.
And then I didn't go down to Kendine. I crossed at, I can't think of the name, Darren.
Okay.
I crossed over to the other, and then went up through the mountains on the middle of the mountain, middle of the island. And then kept going, and then got back to Taipei.
Good for you.
And so that was my first trip. And then after everything kind of settled and we can't leave the island, people said Kending. So a lot of us from TAS went down to Kending for like spring break.
All right.
And that was like my introduction.
This was not the Spring Scream, I hope.
Spring Scream? I don't know.
Spring Scream is like the Woodstock of Taiwan every year.
Oh, no,
it's
I haven't been.
It's a huge music festival.
Oh, I would like to go to that.
Oh, no, you wouldn't.
Oh, you sure? You sure?
We are old men. We would not survive.
So I've become a musician.
Oh, have you?
Yes, so that's
Okay.
another thing that's happened in Taiwan.
Yeah, okay. Wow, all of a sudden, after years of denial.
Right. I always wanted to be a musician, always. And then I came here and I retired and and then COVID.
What instrument?
Well, I started on drums. And now
All right.
I play drums and bass and I play a little keyboards as well.
Really?
Yeah, and so I was in a band. However, that band
Here in Taiwan? Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have a name?
Yeah, the Hunters and Gatherers.
Hunters and Gatherers. Sounds
Yeah.
like one of the Aborigine
Yeah, it kind of has
groups
that. Yeah.
They beheaded people.
Yeah. I wish we did. We lost that opportunity.
All right. I'm surprised your daughter hasn't gone to the Spring Scream. Maybe she lied
She's
to
too young. She did.
Oh, I don't know. She might have lied to you about it. Going to Kending to hunt for seashells.
Yeah. Well, actually, so speaking of going down there by herself, one of the best things that happened to her was when we first got here, she was, kind of lost.
Sure, of
as
course.
any,
as every
10, 11, 12-year-old kid would be
Right.
coming from the United States to a completely foreign country. She goes into TAS a month after we got here, and this was something they did before COVID. I think they're starting it up again now, but they loaded the whole 6th grade class onto buses and took them down to Kending for a week.
Oh, okay.
And it was just this great way for her to integrate into, with all the other students. Because it was the beginning of middle school.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think there was a lot more than just, some expat kids. There were a lot of kids that were going to local schools and hadn't been to TAS until then. And so it was a great way to get everybody to know each other. And so that was like her intro to Taiwan, and she met so many friends, and they're friends with her to this day.
Great.
So Kending has a lot of good memories for all of us.
Good. Kending has a music festival every year. It's called the Spring Scream. And it gets bigger every year. It's become sort of a rite of passage for youth to go to this. So if you when you get back home, Google the videos and then decide whether your daughter should go to this thing.
Well, there's a similar event in Oregon.
Oh, what is that?
What is it called? But it's
huge.
Really wild.
Oh,
it's really
okay.
wild.
What's the Stickman one, or what is it?
That's down in California.
What's the name of that thing?
Burning Man.
Burning Man.
Yeah.
I've heard that's gone downhill.
Well, last year they had floods.
Right. Okay, that kind of wiped it out.
Yeah, but they got stranded down there.
Yeah.
And because all the water, they couldn't get their vehicles out.
Oh, I see.
And so they were living on what they brought with them.
It had started, Burning Man was where they built a large statue of a man.
Yeah.
It didn't really have much of a personality beyond being artsy. It was huge, made out of wood. It had there was no real plan, I guess. Right?
No, they just wanted to have a party and get together.
Right, and it just grew.
Yeah.
And it became a local event, then it became an international event, and then became when something like that starts at what we call grassroots, which is a local effort, right, and then becomes a commercial, international, Now you have Pepsi and Coca-Cola advertisements and people selling T-shirts and mugs. And,
like Woodstock.
Yeah, well, Woodstock was later when the shirts came out, right?
No, but I mean, the original Woodstock.
Right.
You know, it had that sort of grassroots. And then they did 99 or whenever, 94.
They did, yeah, they did, yeah. The name Woodstock represents a rock festival that was in 1970? 69. And they call it the end of the hippie era or the end of the flower child movement.
Yeah.
Because after that, things became violent in America.
Altamont.
Well, yeah, we had a rock concert that was... became a violent, where is it?
Altamont in California.
The Hells Angels motorcycle gang was the security.
Yeah.
And they killed somebody, and it just turned into, it was not a Woodstock. It was the opposite.
The opposite of
a Woodstock. If you ever my listeners should look up Woodstock, and you'll see that it was a small concert that went out of control in terms of the organization. They tried to put up a fence, and the people just walked over on top and knocked it over.
300,000 people?
Yeah, something like 300. Totally unexpected numbers. They made no money on it. They had
3 days.
3 days of mud because it rained. And people were walking around smoking, and there were...
the great musical acts of the day.
The best music of that era was at that show.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I had the album when I was a kid.
Me
Did
too.
you have
Yeah,
it?
yeah. My brother was of that age group.
So he bought all these albums, right? Yeah, I wish I'd kept it. Ironically, now it's worth some money. Yeah. But the Flower Children were young people, teenagers and college kids that dressed, we'll call them hippies, I guess you could call them. Men had long hair, and they would dress very exotic. I don't know how to describe how they dressed. I didn't really understand it, but I tried to dress a little bit like it, We had the tie-dye T-shirts.
It was grunge before grunge.
Yes. Grunge rock was Nirvana, the band. That was an interesting band. It was. Wow.
They were great. Oh man.
They mixed rock and I don't know how to
heavy metal and punk.
All together as to one sound. Tragic death
Horrible.
of the singer.
Yeah.
And I believe his wife taught English here.
Courtney Love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Back in the 1980s, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea that.
Yeah, she mentions it in one of her books.
Huh.
Yeah. Of course, her real name's not Love. That was her band name, I think.
No, it was Hole.
Hole. That was the name of the band, Hole.
Yeah, Hole.
But her name for the act was Love, right?
Courtney Love was the only.
Was she born Courtney Love?
That's
what I'm saying. That was.
I have a nephew though who is an expert on Courtney Love.
Really?
He actually met her and hung out with her.
Well, ask him about my story because
I never really pursued this idea, but.
Yeah, I can't find much about it here. Only other suggestions. But yeah, that she was here in the 80s. As a lot of people were in the 1980s. This was a big business boom in Taiwan, and oh my God, every company on the planet was here.
Well, that's been the most fascinating part of Taiwan for me, is the people that I'm friends with now that came here, such as yourself, who came here in the 80s and 90s and have been here ever since.
Right.
And they may have come over just as a
business
English teacher
or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't, they just graduated school and they just came over.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know,
they were here for life.
They're here for life. They run big businesses. They're doing very well for themselves, and it's just amazing.
Right. Well, yeah, Taiwan was the flyover country.
Right.
Because people didn't come here for tourism.
Right.
They went to Hong Kong or Thailand.
Yeah.
And if you went to Taiwan, you were a businessman. You were, the country manager or the regional manager of something, a factory. And you could not walk down the street without bumping into somebody in a suit and tie. And it radically changed in the 90s, early 90s, when everything the factories moved to China. So, and the pollution levels dropped significantly.
Yeah.
The only positive thing of that, of course, when I arrived in 93 at the Taipei train station, you could not see Yangmingshan Mountain.
Really?
It was just,
Oh
they said it was there, but I didn't believe them.
Wow.
And now, today, of
Yeah,
course, you can see the mountain.
It's iconic, yeah.
That's how bad it was.
That's horrible. I've heard about the river, too. That the
You're talking about
rivers are
the Love River in Kaohsiung?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was when it caught fire, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Now you can fish in it. They have these
Yeah.
beautiful little river cafes where you can sit there and have coffee and tea, and at night is very romantic. And imagine what it was when I first arrived here, which was I walked across the bridge and was terrified that I had to burn my clothes when I got home. I couldn't. No, you have no idea.
Wow.
It was and Taiwan has done a marvelous job of cleaning things up.
It's one of the cleanest places I think I've ever been.
Minus Singapore, which is fanatical.
Maybe that's true. Maybe, but there's something that's not as interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. There's no character.
Yeah.
Singapore is too clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like a little dirt.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's natural here. You've got mountains, and there's a lot of nature that doesn't exist down there.
Right.
What's to do?
That's the tropics.
Yeah.
You get to sweat.
Yeah. Fun.
Singapore's probably the safest place on the planet.
Yeah.
But
I feel so safe here in Taiwan.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. There's no comparison with any place I've been in the United States.
I think the 30 years I've been here, though I traveled throughout Asia on my job, working in Middle East, India, I've never had a problem here.
Neither have I.
Not a significant problem, that is. People are just out of the way friendly.
Yeah.
So, it is a world unto itself. Taiwanese should be very fortunate, or feel fortunate to have this wonderful place.
Yeah.
So, are you going to be sad when you leave Taiwan?
Yes. There's so much here that I really come to enjoy and love.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you could retire here.
I would like to, but we're just we are just outside of that 5-year range.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's when I first came here, you couldn't get a work permit very easily.
Right.
It was very difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and today they're basically giving away permanent residency cards, and I feel so jealous and angry that I had to fly out of the country every 2 months.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had to, every 2 months I had to fly to Hong Kong, turn around, and fly back, and I never left the airport. I had to go through immigration both ways, and I got back on the same airplane. And it was a visa run, and we called it,
yeah.
And it was, I won't say corruption, but there seemed to be, there were 20 of these flights a day, so it seemed to be somebody was making some money on these 25-minute flights back and forth. So you could fly out in the morning, be back by noon.
Couldn't they have just set up an office in downtown Taipei to let you just kind of wander through for an hour?
Well, they had the Foreign Affairs Police Department here, and they controlled immigration.
Right.
So they were the police,
right,
part of the martial law period.
Sure, yeah.
So they weren't too happy with foreigners. Their job was to handle foreigners, not just as immigration, but as if there was a problem with a foreigner in a restaurant or bar or something, they sent the Foreign Affairs Police, and they were brutal.
Wow.
So they had to take it away from them because they're too difficult.
Wow.
So, hey, thanks for coming, and we want to do another episode with you and discover about your earlier life. You were in the Coast Guard.
Yes.
And that's a fascinating thing to talk about because we we have a serious gray zone issue and fishing and other issues that we deal with in Taiwan, just off the coast, of course, and the boundary issues. It's interesting. Coast Guard duty was something I never considered as a job opportunity. I grew up in the farmlands.
Actually, I did too.
Yeah, corn and basketball, and the idea of getting on a ship.
Indiana?
Yeah, Indiana.
Kansas.
Corn and
Wheat.
Wheat. Well, corn is a wheat, actually, isn't it?
It's a grass.
Here we're going to get in a farming fight. Agricultural.
But also, the big thing in Kansas is oil and cattle.
Kansas. Yeah, Kansas is this huge state. You don't realize till you drive across it.
Right.
You've made a mistake.
Those 8 hours that you're just like, where
are we still we can't possibly still be in Kansas. But once again, thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure.
Hey, we'll talk to you again. All right, cheers.
All right.
Bye-bye.